I'm Christy. I've been with Alaska Mill and Feed. I work on the wholesale side. I've been with the company a little over 4 years now. I was born and raised in Kentucky on a small family farm. We mainly did cattle. Um, Working with my grandfather, the love of agriculture grew, and I went to college and double majored in agriculture at Eastern Kentucky University. I graduated in 2009 and moved up to Alaska after that. And I've been doing the chicken classes. I had been here for like maybe 4 months when I did my first chicken class for the company, and I've been doing them ever since. So let's go ahead and get started. Today we're going to talk about, some basic vocabulary for chicks, benefits and negatives, different types of chickens, getting set up, what you need to bring your chicks home for the first time, especially if you don't have chicks and this is the first time you're bringing them home, different types of sheltering methods, water, food, and supplemental feeding, some chicken health 101, chicken behavior 101. We'll go over some references. And then this year we're doing things a little bit different. Instead of ordering your chicks through us, you will be ordering with Polaris Poultry. And at the very end, we will go to his website and show you how to place an actual order. So basic chicken vocabulary. Chicks are those cute little fuzz balls that everyone loves to bring home. And then as they get older, they lose that beautiful fuzz, and then they either become a layer, which is going to be your female chickens that lay your eggs, or they're going to be a broiler, which is going to be your males or females that meet birds, or they're going to be a rooster, which is your male chickens, or a hen, which is your older females. Also, a group of birds is called a flock. So and it could be chickens, it could be a mixed flock of ducks, geese, chickens, doesn't matter. And one word a lot of people don't like to talk about, but it always needs to be thought about, is cull. And that means to remove a chicken from the flock. And mostly you talk about the death of the bird. So who owns chickens? I mean, Julia Roberts, Chuck and Joanna Gaines. There is a large movement across the nation, especially in 2020 during the pandemic. We saw an explosion of chickens, not only here in Alaska, but across the country. And we forecast the same growth again this year, especially in urban areas like Anchorage. You're allowed to have chickens, and people want to grow their own eggs, and people are getting those backyard flocks started. So what's the benefits of raising chickens? Yes, you get fresh eggs, fresh meats, that chickweed that everyone has growing in their yards here in Anchorage. Chickens love the chickweed, and those of us who are also gardening at the same time, you will also get some poultry manure that you can mix into your garden beds as well, and will help your vegetables grow strong. But for every positive, there's also a negative. It's probably more expensive to raise your birds, especially for eggs, especially if you choose to go with the no corn, no soy or organic method. They do need daily care. Doesn't mean you can't go on vacation, which we'll talk about a little bit later, but they're going to need constant daily care, and sometimes they can be smelly. So there's pros and cons that you'll need to weigh before you bring home these birds, because let's face it, it's going to be about 20 weeks before you see some eggs. So can you wait 20 weeks and take care of these birds before you start seeing a return on your investment? So eggs are the number one biological value for protein. Everything else is measured against eggs. You get 6 grams of protein from an egg. Most of it comes from the yolk. There's 70 calories to an egg, not very much. 13 essential vitamins, and 9 essential amino acids. So it's a great source of feed for you. And everyone loves eggs. Everyone, bears, wolves, dogs, chickens, they all love eggs. So some popular brown egg layers: the Barred Rock, the Buff Orpington, the Rhode Island Red, and the Australorp. If you look at their pictures, all of them have something in common. They have stronger wattles and stronger combs, so that they're going to be more cold tolerant for Alaska. And all of these guys are good, strong egg layers and tend to be not so broody. The Buff Orpingtons and Australorps can tend to be a little broody, so they like to sit on their eggs, but you can break that habit. But they tend to be gentle birds. Fun breeds, everyone loves the Silkies. They are a smaller bird. The white-crested Polish, they have the funny hairdos up top. Leghorns are probably the most recognized because of Looney Tunes and Foghorn Leghorn being on there. Very fun breeds, but not practical as much for Alaska as some other breeds. So what are your options for this year? Your meat breeds, you can go with the Cornish Cross, the Jackie Red Jackie Red Ranger, the Freedom Ranger, or the Bantam Silkie. Your Cornish Cross, that's your fastest growing bird. It's got big broad breasts, big thighs, and the best thing is they're ready to go on the table in 8 weeks. Your males can weigh up to 10 pounds with your females up to 8 pounds. Then your Jackie Red Ranger, they have a 70% live to dress weight, so you're only losing about 30% of their weight to feathers and intestines and stuff like that. But they still have a good growth rate and good feed conversion. They're excellent foragers. It takes approximately 83 days, so about 11, almost 12 weeks to go to slaughter, and they weigh a little bit less than the Cornish Cross do. The Freedom Rangers, they are probably one of the best tasting meat birds. They do have moderate growth rate. They're only about 5 to 6 pounds in a 9 to 11 week span. So still not as fast as growing as those Cornish Crosses. Bantam Silkies, they're very small, very fragile. They're mainly raised for meat production, especially the Asians. It's considered a delicacy in their culture. But they can also be used as egg layers as well. Their average live weight is about 3.5 pounds, and it takes about 12 to 15 weeks to get to that weight. When you're looking at them for egg production, they lay about 90 to 120 cream-colored eggs per year, and they are small because they are small birds. But they are very docile, and they do come as a straight run. So if you are looking at them to purchase for laying eggs, you might get a male in there. For layers, there's 8 options this year. There's the Barred Rock, one of the most noticeable breeds in America. They're active. They lay about 280 to 290 large brown eggs per year. They are dual purpose, so you could use them as meat, or most people do use them for egg layers. They are hardy. They are cold tolerant. They are there's only 2 species of the egg layers that can be purchased as a straight run. So you can either purchase all ladies to lay eggs, or you can purchase males and females. The Blue Sapphire, straight run means that it will be male and female. So there's no sexing of them. So it'll be a surprise on what you get. Hopefully that answers your question, Richard. The Blue Sapphire is a cross between a male Andalusian and a female Plymouth Barred Rock. They are imported from Czech Republic. They lay about 290 or more large to extra large brown eggs per year. So they're a prolific egg layer. and they do tend to be cold tolerant. We brought these ladies in a few years ago. They were probably our most popular breed that year, and they come in, they're very pretty, as like a bluish, grayish, black colored when they come in. Very pretty birds. The color pack, this most important thing to remember, they are not Easter eggers. They're not related to the Americana or the Aracanas whatsoever, but they do lay your colored eggs. They mainly lay blue and green ones, but they'll lay various other shades of browns and khakis as well. They lay about 280 eggs per year, and they are also a great cold tolerant bird for the state as well. The dominant copper is another breed from Czech Republic. They are cold tolerant. They're a cross between a black copper Maran male and a barred rock female. They're great foragers, 290 plus large to extra large copper to dark chocolate eggs per year. They may have feathers on their feet, so that'll help with the cold winters up here and making sure that their feet doesn't get exposed to the cold and get frostbitten. The color of the bird changes over the lifespan, so they'll start out as a dark black and eventually will be lighter and lighter as they age, so they'll be a light gray towards the end of their life. So the golden bovine, which is also called the gold sex-link, they were developed in the Netherlands. They're also known as the golden buff. They're a cross between a Rhode Island red male and a Rhode Island white female. They lay over 300 eggs a year. They're large to extra large brown eggs. Also cold tolerance. The ISA brown, they originated in France. They're a cross between the Rhode Island red and leghorns. They lay 900 plus large to extra large reddish brown eggs per year. They're also known as the golden comet or the red star. Also cold tolerant. The Novagens, once again, developed in France, also a cross between Rhode Island Reds and Leghorns. They are more prolific egg layers. They were more developed. The Rhode Island Reds were chosen for more prolific egg layers to breed with the Leghorns. So you're going to get about 300 large to extra large, sometimes even jumbo reddish brown eggs per year. They have a calm disposition and they're cold tolerant. The Rhode Island Red, another like the Barred Rock, is another most iconic and well-recognized breeds in the U.S. Typically active birds, so they like to run around your yard and coop and everything. They lay between 280 to 290 large brown eggs per year. They're also cold tolerant. They have a variable temperament, so you can have a calm, mellow bird, or you can have a very upbeat, strong-willed bird. And this bird, once again, can also be bought as a straight run. If you notice this slide, all the birds are brown. And of these four, the golden bovine have the bigger breast, which is great for our colder winters because those bigger breast feathers will be able to come over their feet and cover their legs and help protect against frostbite. Are there any questions over the options for the birds for this year? One pops up, I'll stop. What is broody? Broody means they like to sit on their eggs. So as soon as they lay, they're gonna brood on those, sit on their eggs and make sure that they keep them nice and warm and rotate them like they should so they will develop into chicks properly and you'll have a bunch of baby chicks. You have to have a rooster in order for that to happen. In municipality of Anchorage, since we don't have roosters, that won't happen. So make sure you go out and collect your eggs on a daily basis. So what you should expect, you know, based on your property size, based on other ordinances, based on where you are, here in Anchorage, it is 5 chicks for the first 6,000 square feet of your property. For every additional 1,000 square feet, you're allowed to have one additional bird. You are not allowed to have any roosters, and your coop must be at least 10 feet away from all property lines. Those are all things to consider when you're getting ready to build your coop and when you're getting ready to determine how many eggs can you have or how many birds can you have and what you can handle. They grow up fast, and you have to take care of these birds because they don't start laying until about 18 to 20 weeks of age, depending on the breed of bird. So also another thing to think about is when they eventually do stop laying, which they peak between 2 to 3 years of age, and then they start to decline. What's going to happen to that bird when they stop laying eggs? Are you going to keep them as a pet, or are they going to become chicken soup? Always have an exit strategy prepared. So before the chicks arrive, some basic preparation. Make sure you have a dry, clean area that's draft-free, well ventilated. Everything, your waters, feeders, everything need to be disinfected in a 1:10 ratio, bleach to water dilution. Make sure you have proper spacing. We'll go over spacing in a little bit. Make sure you have your bedding put down. We do not recommend cedar shavings because it can cause respiratory issues and could lead to death in your chicks. Are you going to use wood shaving, straw, shredded newspaper? The newest go-to in the industry is hemp bedding. It is very soft, it's low dust, so it's great for the birds and for you. And it's also biodegradable, so it'll break down on its own. And while it does that, it's creating heat in your coop, which is great for the winter months here in Alaska. And we'll go over some methods on how to use the hemp bedding in a little bit. We'll go in a little bit more details about that. When you're looking at purchasing your chicks, if you don't go through us but decide to go through your own means, make sure you're buying from a good hatchery, that they are vaccinating for Marek's. And we do recommend being vaccinated for coccidiosis and salmonella. And you know, if not, you need to be in contact with your vets and see if you can get your birds in as soon as you get them to get them vaccinated. So basic chick starter checklist: shelter, heat, bedding, feeder, waters, and your vitamins, electrolytes, and a probiotic. Those probiotics come in handy if you're not buying from a hatchery that vaccinates for coccidiosis. It's important to have some probiotics for that, and we'll touch a little bit on that a little bit later. So brooding chicks, you want to bring your chicks home to a preheated area that's 90 to 95 degrees. Baby chicks cannot regulate their body temperatures whatsoever. That they have to have their feathers in order to do that. They're fuzz balls, not feathered friends yet. So 90 to 95 degrees, make sure your thermometer is down on the ground level, because that's where your baby chick is going to be. It's not going to be about 20 inches up in the air because heat rises. So make sure it's down on the ground. And watch your birds. Your birds are going to tell you if they're too hot or too cold. Once you get them home, the first week you maintain at 90 to 95, and then each week after that you can back off 5 degrees until you're to a 65 degrees. I cannot stress to people enough, if you're using the brooder reflectors with the heat lamps, please have a safety measure put in place. Those clips have been known to slip and fall. And I have seen on Facebook this year alone here in Alaska 2 coop fires where the entire coop has burned down and all birds have been lost because the heat lamps have fallen and landed in the bedding and started a fire. use some kind of chain and a carabiner or some kind of hook, and make sure that if that clip on that comes on the reflector fails, that it catches the reflector before it hits your bedding. You don't want to lose your birds because of a failure on the heating parts. So how do you know if your temperature is just right? Like I said, your chicks will tell you. And the next few slides are my Goldilocks and the Three Bear examples. In this picture, you'll see these chicks are cold. They're all huddled together underneath one little small heating source, but it's not heating them enough because they're all clumped together. They're not moving around the coop. They're just huddled together. They can't get close enough to get warm. And this one, they're up against the wall saying, I'm melting, please, please turn down the heat. So they're too hot, they'll get up against the wall and try to escape the heat source itself. Then in this final picture, as you can see, the birds are moving around. They are not all up on each other. They're not up against the walls. They're just perfect, perfect temperature for them. We have, when we've brought in the chicks here, we've actually raised the heat lamps up, which helps lower the temperature. We've had them here for a week before. We've seen that we've backed off the temperature more than 5 degrees before when we've had them here. Like I say, is rule of thumb, it's about 5 degrees every week, but watch your birds. They will tell you if they're too hot or too cold. Starting other poultry, turkeys, they tend to be a little slow. Chickens, you'll dip them in the water and their food bowl once and they've got it figured out. Turkeys, you might have to show them 2, 3, maybe even a 4th time. For turkeys, you feed a starter till about 8 weeks of age, and then from that point on, all you have to do is feed a turkey grower finisher. Some breeds are not meant to be pets. They are bred for their big breasts. So they're going to become top heavy if not, if you don't harvest them. So about 18 weeks of age is when you typically do that. For ducks and geese, when I think of them, they love to splash around in water. They are water birds. So marbles in their water will help them from splashing around so much. Once again, a starter and then a maintenance. Other wild game birds like quail and pheasants and stuff like that, there's a starter and a grower. They're much easier than chickens, where actually your meat birds, there's only one feed, but your egg layers have several different types of feeds, which we will go over their feeds shortly. So how much spacing and how many feeders and waters do you need? So one of the things you'll notice is when they're babies, you don't need as much space. Layers and broiler chicks, you only need about 10 square inches to 1 to 2 square feet per bird. But as they get bigger and older, you need 3 to 6 square feet per bird. For feeder space, your chicks, if you just have like a 12-inch feeder, you're great. Because you're giving them 24 inches because you're feeding from both sides of the feeder. So that will meet the 1.5 linear feet per 10 birds. And as you watch, the minimum feeder space, the minimum water space, the floor space, each of them grows. And this is part where most people start pulling out their phone and taking pictures of the slideshows. This is on our website at alaskamelonfeed.com under livestock and chicken tips. And this class is also being recorded and will be on our Facebook page. So you can reference it at any time. So this picture is a great example of having plenty of feeders and waters for several birds. They also use burlap on top of their shavings so that the birds don't track the shavings into their feed and water. That's really helpful. You don't have to do it. A lot of people don't. But if you don't want to clean shavings, wet shavings out of your water and feeders every twice a day, then this is a great option to go with. We even here at the mill, when we bring in the chicks, we have little wood blocks that we put the waterers on, so they're up above the shavings, and the birds, I mean, about 1 inch tall, and the birds can still reach the waterers, but the water is not leaking down into the shavings. This is another good example of just a simple start in someone's garage. They have a little corral with chicken wire. They're using a fan for ventilation and a shop light for heat. You don't have to use a Brita reflector. Those shop lights give off a lot of heat. Gentlemen who work in shops, you know that. Even ladies who work in there. So sheltering methods, there are several different types. The most popular here in Anchorage is yarding, which is a confinement to a building with a outdoor fence yard. Kind of have to do that here in Alaska because we have to protect our birds from the air, predators from the air, and predators from the ground. Eagles, owls, hawks love your chickens. Foxes and ermine and bears and your neighbor's dogs will also love your chickens. So the picture here is a great example of yarding. It's fenced in. If you're gonna free range, always offer your birds somewhere that they can go at nighttime, especially in the winter time, to get away from predators. In this slide, this is a good example of a setup of a coop. You want approximately 1 nest box for every 4 hens. Some people do 2 nest box for every 4 hens. Your outside area for your birds should provide a minimum of 4 square feet per bird. And this, they put their feeders and waters outside instead of in the coop. They also have a little separate area nesting boxes built in to where the birds can go off to the side and lay their eggs. The only thing in this picture is it looks like they're using dowel rods for their perches. We don't recommend that because too many birds have been exposed to the elements, and because they can't bring their breast feathers over their feet, those legs have gotten frostbitten, and unfortunately you either have to surgically remove the legs, depending if a chicken can get by with 1 leg, but if you have to remove both legs, it's better off to cold the bird. So a 1 inch by 4 inch board so that the birds can plant their feet flat and bring those breast feathers up and over their legs so they can protect their legs against frostbite is a better recommendation than dowel rods. When can your babies go outside? They need their adult feathers. They can't be little fuzz balls anymore. So about 5 to 6 weeks of age. Still might have to give them a coop to come in at night with heat lamp to help regulate their temperatures. Keeping your chicks safe, like I mentioned, protect from all sizes or all sides. Enclosing your runs and locking. A lot of people lock their birds up at night. A lot of people use the chicken wire fencing, or they'll get the little wire running fences that 6 to 12 inches apart, but you don't want it very wide because ermine love birds and foxes. Foxes are really good at slinking into fences. So think about the sizing of your fence if you decide to yard your birds. So water, 65% of an egg and 50% of a chicken's body is water. So water is very important. Birds drink mainly twice a day, normally at early morning and late at night, right before they go to bed. So that's when they're going to consume most of their water. So that's when you should be making sure they have the cleanest and most freshest waters at those time periods. During the wintertime, if you're not running electricity to your coop, so that you have heated water, we recommend like a 2 bowl method. You go out first thing in the morning with some warm water between 50 and 55 degrees and put fresh water out in the morning and enough water for your birds, all your birds to drink. And then you go out again later in the day, in the afternoon, and put another bowl out. And when you put that second bowl out, you bring that first bowl in and you clean it and have it disinfected and clean and ready to go for the next morning. And you keep doing that rotation. As you can see, they drink 1 to 2 cups of water daily, and layers drink twice as much. So water is very important. Different types of feeds. Mash is a really great feed for these colder temperatures. You can take scratch and mix hot water or warm milk in, and what that's going to do is build energy up in your birds. That's going to turn into heat, and they're going to be able to keep themselves warm throughout the nights in the winter. So you don't have to use as much supplemental heating. And if you do that right before the birds go to bed, that's a great way to help heat your birds at night. We have a customer that loves to make oatmeal for her birds, which is kind of the same ideal as mash. Pellets and crumbles, they're a complete and balanced diet. It's just one's in the shape of a pellet, one is the pellets that have been crushed up. Baby birds normally always start out on crumbles, and then the older birds tend to switch to pellets. It's 50-50 on pellets and crumbles. It's your choice on which one you use. One's not better over the other. And some people say there's more waste with pellets. Some people say there's more waste with crumbles. Figure out which one your birds like and stick with it. Scratch is typically a mixture of 2 types of grains. We use cracked corn and red wheat here. Use it sparingly. It's like candy to a kid. Grit is sand and small pebbles that help with gizzard health. And sprouting and fodder. Sprouts are just microgreens that are less than 4 inches, and fodder is greater than 4 inches. And it's a great source of vitamins and minerals throughout the wintertime that you can raise for your birds. Like I said, I grew up on a farm, and my parents and grandparents both had the old country crock tubs, old butter tubs. Once they emptied them, they kept those stored beside the sink or under the sink, and we would put our coffee grinds, our potato peelings, eggshells. I remember as a little kid, I didn't like the peels on the apples, so I would peel the apples, and that would all go in this bucket. And then that bucket would go out to the garden and onto the compost pile that we had in the garden. Well, who knew that birds were not allergic, but a lot of foods were poisonous to birds. Chocolate, caffeine, including your coffee grinds, tomato plants, including leaves and stems, your potato plants. You just got to be careful. A lot of people up here like to turn their greenhouses into the coops for the winter times because it has a source of heat, and they're not a lot of times not raising plants in the wintertime. So you just got to be careful. Like if you do that, make sure you clean out the entire greenhouse and make sure that your birds can't access anything that's poisonous to them. The biggest thing to remember is, birds are normally easy. Humans make them hard. And people have had birds eat all these things that are on this list, but too much of something is not a good thing. Some good fruits and veggies are like pumpkin and watermelon. Those are great enrichment for your animals. They like to peck at the fleshy parts of the watermelon of the pumpkin, and it's good for them as well. So when to change feeds? So like I said, broilers, you're going to start on broiler grower finisher from day one until they're on the plate, until they're ready to slaughter. And then you start over again and you keep repeating that process. Doesn't matter if you start with crumbles or pellets. Broilers, seriously, if you blink your eye, they've grown 2 inches. Turkeys, duck, and geese, and other wild game birds, you start with the starter, and between 8 to 16 weeks of age, you go to the grower or the maintenance, or if you have a mixed flock, you can go with all-purpose poultry. The layers are the difficult ones. So you start with a chick starter, and you feed that until about 6 to 8 weeks of age. And then at about 6 to 8 weeks of age, you switch over to a pullet grower. And then at about 16, 17, 18, even up to 20 weeks of age, they're going to start laying eggs. That's when you switch to your layer feed. And if you start introducing too much calcium too quickly to your birds, you can deform some leg development problems. And if they can't support themselves, then you basically have a dead bird. So make sure you start with your starter. A lot of people forget the pullet grower. Don't forget the pullet grower, and then go into your layer feed. At about 8 weeks of age, you can start introducing scratch into your birds' diets. And then at that 16 to 20 weeks of age, when they've started laying eggs, then you can introduce grit and a calcium supplement. If you're feeding a complete diet, like our feeds that we make here at the mill, you don't need to add grit or calcium supplements. The really only time you need to add grits to a bird's diet is if you're allowing your birds to free range. And we'll touch on the calcium supplement in a little bit. So the different feeds that we offer here, we have a chick starter, the pullet grower. We have the 16 and 20% feeds and the crumbles and pellets. We also make a broiler grower finisher. It comes in crumbles or pellets. We have the all-purpose poultry ration, and we also have the standard scratch. If you want more information on all these feeds, our feed labels are on our website, AlaskaMillandFeed.com, and you can access our labels and see how we recommend feeding them. The guarantee analysis and the ingredients are in there as well. Our no corn, no soy options, we do have a chick starter, a 16% only layer crumble or pellet, and broiler grower finisher. Once again, those labels are on our website. If you're interested in going organic and non-GMO, then you would want to research the Scratch and Peck line. That's the line that we carry that's guaranteed organic, non-GMO. So is a calcium supplement necessary? If you're feeding a complete diet, no. But if you have birds that are laying, they're prolific egg layers and they're laying, 2 eggs a day, or you're noticing that their eggshells are weak or not developing at all, then you can add a calcium source. Most people typically add oyster shells, but there is a shortage across the nation as of end of 2020 of oyster shells. We've brought in some poultry limestone. It has the same guarantee analysis as oyster shell. And we do have the poultry limestone in stock right now, but it's only in 50-pound bags at this time. It is a good source of calcium. Both sources are, and both of them are extensively used in the poultry industry. You don't want to feed calcium to your birds under 18 weeks of age. You want them to start laying those eggs before you start giving calcium sources. They don't need additional calcium prior to that. Some other supplemental feeding, we spoke about the sprouts and fodder, barley, wheat, oats, even alfalfa. Like I said, sprouts are less than 4 inches, fodder is greater than 4 inches. And a lot of people, you can use this as get your kids involved with growing your chickens. You can, start one tray of sprouts, and then next week start another tray, and then the week after that start another tray, and you have 3 trays that you're continuously going through. And once they get about 4 inches in height, you can just cut them. Don't pull them, don't pull the roots, just cut like you would your grass, and it'll continue to grow. And this allows you to offer your birds year-round fresh greens. It's great availability of vitamins and minerals for your birds, and it helps increase digestibility. And we do have handouts at the store for on how to do supplemental or how to do sprouts and fodder. And another agricultural practice that's gaining ground again is fermenting. How many people, once again, grew up on a farm, sauerkraut. We did cabbage, raised cabbage every year and made sauerkrauts, and it's great, great source. It helps your birds uptake protein. And the most important thing to remember with fermenting, though, is it should smell sweet and tart. It shouldn't smell sour. It shouldn't have visible mold or anything like that. You can use whole grains or even the chicken scratch. You can even do pellets of feeds and just make sure the your water level is just right above their feed. But if it smells like alcohol or yeast, then you should dispose of it and never feed to your birds. And we also have handouts on fermenting in our retail store. Flock blocks. This is where it's talking about if you want to go on vacation, flock blocks are your way to go. They can feed up to 25 birds for 2 to 3 days. If you have less birds, it's going to last longer. It's also a great way to, if you have birds that are bored and they're pecking on each other, put one of these flock blocks out and encourage them to peck on it. That's going to give them some enrichment. They're full of molasses and sunflower seeds and whole grains. So it's just really good enrichment for your birds as well. Diatomaceous earth. This is really great for the composting method in your coops. If you want to go that route with the hemp bedding, all you have to do is put some diatomaceous earth down on your bottoms of your coop floors, put your bedding down, and then when you see wet spots, you just turn those wet spots under, spread some more diatomaceous earth on top, and then put some fresh bedding on top, and the hemp bedding is going to break down, and it's going to biodegrade and create heat in your coop, and you keep doing that. And we have some customers, several customers who go with the hemp bedding. The initial cost is shell shocking. It is a little bit more expensive, but they're not going through as much bedding as you would with the shavings and stuff. So they say it actually balances out. Also, if you have lice or mites in your flock, provide some diatomaceous earth in a trash can lid and let your birds take a bath in it, and that will help with reducing the mites and lice on your birds. Some chicken health. Coccidiosis is a digestive tract disease in chickens. It can be vaccinated against. If your birds don't come vaccinated against them, I do recommend going to see a vet and having your birds vaccinated. If you don't get them vaccinated and coccidiosis does show itself in your coop or in your flock, you will have to go to your veterinarian for antibiotics. In 2015, the FDA took all antibiotics off No one can sell them all over the shelf in stores anymore. You have to get a vet's prescription to get them. Way to battle it is, cleanliness and keeping your litter dry. When you bring new birds in, when you bring those birds in, you want to keep them quarantined from your already existing flock for a few weeks. Should be about 4 weeks at that before you introduce the two flocks together. So one of the things I've been talking with Polaris Poultry about, the only thing that they vaccinate their birds for is Marek's. There's an option on his website to have your birds for a minimal cost, to have your birds vaccinated against salmonella and coccidiosis. One's 10 cents per bird and one's 15 cents per bird. The only problem is as I was playing around on the website and got to checkout, there's nowhere for you to say, hey, I want this done to my birds. The Polaris Poultry hasn't made it back to me yet on what they're how to fix that. So as of right now, I'm just suggesting that you put it in the notes. It's not hard to fight against. Keep your brooders and coops clean. Provide the cleanest water possible. Don't overcrowd the living quarters. Ensure adequate coop ventilation to promote dry litter. When you see those wet spots in your coop, either flip them over and put fresh over, or scoop them up and get them in a trash can and get them out of your coop. Don't let your new birds and your older birds in the run together. Probiotics, we mentioned earlier, I'll put that in your water. It will help combat against, it's not going to cure all, and it's not a vaccine against coccidiosis, but it will help build up against the unkemptness and the loose stools and stuff like that. Practice good biosecurity, which Dr. Gerlach, our state vet, on February 26th is going to talk about biosecurity. He's going to do one of these Zoom meetings. I recommend everyone to take that. He'll touch on salmonella, coccidiosis, and some other diseases that have been present in the state. He's done that, this presentation, several years for us here, and it's always a great presentation to touch bases in. And then last thing is, do not throw your feed or treats on the ground where they become contaminated in the feces. So, put your treats out in a clean area. Chicken Health 101, mites and lice. No one likes to be bitten a lot. So dust baths, natural dust like diatomaceous earth, stuff like that you can get over the counter, but if you need to use anything chemical or stronger, then you'll have to go to your vet. Are only 2 chickens too few for their well-being? Catherine, are you asking, are you wanting to introduce your chicks to 2 older chickens? Is that what you're asking there? And so mites and lice is more common in free-range birds. Not more often in your yarding or other things like that. Other diseases, like I said, Dr. Gerlach will touch more on the health of the birds. Oh, okay, so you're getting chicks for the first time. If you're getting chicks for the first time, Catherine, you can get as many as you want. Just make sure you have enough coop space. So if you know you only have so many square feet, then go back to the chart that I showed earlier where it showed how many square feet per bird you needed and calculate how many birds you can have. And also make sure you stay within the municipality ordinance as well. Chicks don't need as much space, but as they grow older, they're going to need more space. So just make sure you stay within those parameters. Then you won't have to worry about coccidiosis as much. And a lot of times we recommend getting at least 3 birds, because birds are 3. The best way to introduce new chicks with hens is, once again, they need to be at least 4 weeks of age. And clean out make sure you have a nice clean run and introduce them in the run. And at that time, then once they're close to the same size, because they should be closer to the pullet size than chick size. And it won't matter. I mean, their feeders, you might have to hang at different levels and stuff so that, you know, your pullets are not getting into the layer feed and stuff like that. But about 4 weeks of age is when you can introduce new chicks with hens. Impacted eggs. It could be potentially life-threatening. That's when the egg gets stuck in the oviduct. You might have to slip on a glove and use some mineral oil and go in and probe and help the chicken pass that egg. If you can't, you would have to go to a vet. Rooster spurs, don't cut off. You can make them bleed, and just follow them, or take a Dremel and file them down till they're really small. But you shouldn't have a rooster spur is in the picture. What is pointing to B is a sharp spur that comes off of a rooster. That's what they use in cockfights down in the lower 48. But if you're living in Anchorage, you shouldn't have any roosters, and you won't have to worry about rooster spurs. And Catherine, can each chicken be a different breed? Yes. You do not have to get all of the same breed. I would not recommend mixing meat birds with your layers, because your meat birds are going to be, you know, you're going to cull them in about 11 weeks, 8 to 11 weeks, depending on which bird you get. But if you're going to get like 3 layers, they can all be different breeds. All right, David's asking, should you tag somehow older hens so you know which ones to cull and which are laying and which have stopped laying? Each bird, I promise you, will have a different personality. Most people will tell you, if they have birds now, they can tell their birds apart. They know which ones are older, which ones younger. They all have names, and they know their birds by names. So you're not going to have to tag them or anything like that. You'll be able to figure out which ones are not laying and which ones are. And like I said, once they get to that age, which, you know, it's going to take 6-8 years before they stop laying all eggs, then that's when you decide what are you going to do with those birds. Is there a layer breed you recommend to start with for beginners? Any of them are great, easy birds to start with. Any of them that you choose would be a good starting breed. None of them are too broody or anything like that, Kim. Your hens are losing feathers. More likely you're going through molts. Birds go through molts 1 to 2 times a year, and they are ugly. They lose all their feathers, and it's a very stressful time of the year for them when they're going through the molts. Egg production could slow down, or it could stop completely for that bird that's going through the molting. If it's not molting and it's just like a few feathers here and there, then you might have someone picking on another bird, and might need some enrichment in their lives. So how long do chickens live? Average chicken life 6 to 8 years. Pet chickens have been known to live 10 to 15 years. Always have an exit strategy. Are they going to be pets? Are they going to be cold? Are you going to sell it as a, or not sell it, but give it away as a pet to someone? It's your decision, but always have an exit strategy. Cannibalism or feather picking is mainly caused by poor nutrition. You have too many birds in a small space. It's too hot. Believe it or not, birds' eyes are very sensitive, so white light is very harsh on them. It's very sharp light waves, and where a red light is very calming to a bird. Or your birds can be bored and they're waiting for longer daylight hours, especially in Alaska. Like, you know, we all have cabin fever probably right about now. How to fix it is provide more space, make sure you have better ventilation, switch out your white light bulbs for maybe some red Christmas lights, more feed, more water to correct the boredom, put some scratch feed out. Has anyone ever seen a chicken with a mealworm? He thinks he's hit the jackpot. So give some enrichment to your birds. If that's not working, there is a product called Pecnomore. Birds don't like the flavor of it, so the bird that's getting picked on, just lather that on their bare spots, and the bird that's doing the pecking will not like the flavor and stop. If none of that works, have an exit strategy for your bird. Why did chickens eat their eggs? Well, who doesn't like eggs? I mean, it honestly starts as an accident. Once it starts, so it is difficult to stop. A lot of times it could be due to thin shells, or there's not enough nesting material in the hen box, so the egg hits hard on the wood or whatever material your nesting boxes are, and they break open. Or you've left the eggs in there too long and they've just eggs explode. I learned the other day if they've stayed in the coop for too long. Some corrective measures: gather eggs frequently, feed adequate calcium, add more nesting materials. They make fake eggs that work great for your broody chickens that want to sit on eggs all day. And it also helps with the pecking because they'll peck on those fake eggs and they won't be able to break them. And they'll eventually like, oh, I can't break this. So they'll break the habit. If not, exit strategy for the bird causing the problems. So why are all my chickens in one box? Is there a dead mouse in one of them? A lot of times that could be it. You might not have enough nesting boxes. They lay where they're comfortable. So, you know, put some more nesting materials, some softer nesting materials. Most chickens like to brood and sit on their eggs. Some of them don't, but most of them do. So put a fake egg in the nesting box after you clean it and put fresh bedding in of the one that they're not going in, and encourage them to go in there and lay down. So why won't your hen lay? Well, in Alaska, it's kind of a problem when we don't have enough daylight in the wintertime. Daylight triggers a bird to lay, also the age. So day length and age. Increasing day length will encourage your birds to lay more. If they're not getting between 14 to 16 hours a day, you need to jumpstart them by 2 hours and continue to increase their time by 15 minutes a day. Use the natural daylight and then decide, do you want to go earlier in the morning or later after sunset for your hours? And folks, Christmas light timers are your best friends during this time period. Christmas lights timers are your best friends. During Christmas time, pick up extras, because when we're only getting about 6 hours of daylight, just set those timers to automatically come on when you get up in the morning and turn off when you go to bed. You don't have to worry about going out and flipping on and off a switch. The Christmas light timers will do it for you. And just also remember, egg production starts to decline around 3 to 4 years of age. A bird already inside of it, when it's born, already knows how many eggs it's going to lay in its lifetime. You can't increase it. So once they're done, a bird is done laying eggs. Why won't your hens eat or drink? A lot of times it can be due to stress, and sometimes a rooster can cause all that stress. So remove a rooster, pull out other hens that are being bullies. Is there a disease going through your house, your coop? Make sure you're treating for that disease. Always provide plenty of water. Make sure your waters are clean. I like my water ice cold, but chicken, like I said earlier, likes it between 50 to 55 degrees. So some references, in our retail store, we have Story's Guide to Raising Chickens. If you just want to focus on chickens, there's also one on turkeys. There's ones on if you want to do mixed flocks. So there's Story's Guide to Raising Poultry. Great reference. Of course, 4-H and cooperative extension agencies, all their handouts are great sources. Knowledgeable people. We're not the only local feed store, but there's us, there's MBRD, Branded Feed and Tack, Pet Sue's, Underdogs. We love it when you guys come and visit us and purchase from us. There are a lot of Facebook groups that are popping up. Always there are great advice out there, but always use caution. If it doesn't sound right, it might not be right. Do some research into what people are suggesting. Contact your vet. There are a lot of vets that will work with chickens. It's always good to know where they are at, because vets do rotate through the vet clinics around here, around the town and stuff. So know where the vet is and know what their hours are, and know their availability. Websites, if you're interested in doing electrical fencing to protect against bears, Fish and Game has a good one. The Backyard Chicken is a great source. I've used it several times. Rise of the Backyard Chicken is a great newspaper article to check out. We definitely saw a growth spurt during this pandemic, and it's going to continue. So things to remember with Polaris Poultry. February 10th is the first pickup. September 29th is going to be the last. So typically we only do it for one day when we've done this in the past, but with Polaris Poultry, this is going to be an every Wednesday thing. Orders must be submitted online the Thursday prior to the Wednesday you wish to pick up. So if you want to pick up next Wednesday, the 10th, your orders must be submitted February 4th by 6 p.m. That's why we're doing this class today and not on Friday. So if you want chicks on February 10th, you need to order by 6 p.m. on Thursday, February 4th. Pickup options, Alaska Mill and Feed from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. If you choose to pick up here at our location, you receive a free 5-pound bag of chick starter. With Polaris Poultry, he will also have other places, Eagle River, Wasilla, Palmer, and Butte. And all birds come vaccinated for Marek's disease, and there are some, the option for Salmonella and coccidiosis. If you need to cancel your order, if there's mistakes or miscounts, anything like that, you would be contacting Polaris Poultry and not us for that. Jinx Hatchery, which Polaris Poultry uses, we've used in the past as well. They guarantee a 95% sexing accuracy. It is hard to sex a bird, folks. You might end up with a rooster, especially in the silkies. Like they're free runs. And there has been rumors, we did start out their year that there were a minimum of 10 birds, but as of right now, there are no minimums on how many birds you can order. If you want one, you can order one. You want 20, you can order 20. If you're looking for mature birds, they will, Polaris Poultry has that option on their website. And if you give me a moment, we're actually going to switch over to his website and go through and look at everything, the lay of his website and everything. And will they home deliver to chicks? Yes, for an extra $25, they will home deliver. But if you don't come down here, you won't get the free bag of chick starter. So I'm going to switch over real quick to the Polaris Poultry website. Hopefully everyone can see it. And up here at the top on products, if you click the down arrow, you will see that there's chickens, turkeys. You can even buy already frozen chickens on the website. If you click the arrow by the chicken stone, he has egg layer chicks, mature layers. Those are going to be your older birds that if you're looking for girls that are already laying eggs, that's going to be your option. If you want roosters, there's an option. And then there's your meat broiler chicks. So let's just look at the egg layer chicks. And once again, all of these birds, if you're looking for egg layers, they're all good options for first-time chicken owners. None of them are going to be difficult. So some of these, like the Barred Rock and the Rhode Island Red, because you can purchase them as chicks, just the female chicks, or you can buy a straight run. There's going to be 3 options. If you want less than 9 chicks, you would choose one option. If you want more than 10 chicks, you would choose another one, because he does, if you're buying in bulk, there is a discount offer. In the bulk is you have to buy the same breed. And then if you want straight run, 10 or more chicks, there's an option there. So we're just going to do females. Let's get some dominant coppers. And we're going to add 2 dominant coppers for the these are Thursday, the hatch dates. Hatch dates are on Tuesdays. So your birds are 24 hours of age once they get to us on Wednesday. So let's go with the 16th, because I know some of the birds are already sold out for the 10th. So we'll add to the cart. And here's your adult birds. They're $39. I did not click on the chicks. There. And let's add some blue sapphires. Let's add a couple of those to the cart for the same 16th hatch date. And then if you go up to your cart in the upper right hand corner and click there, you'll come to a review. And here in the special instructions for the seller, so for Polaris Marketing or Polaris Poultry, you want to tell them that you want to pick up at Alaska Mill and Feed so you can get the free bag of chick starter. And they have terms and conditions, so make sure you read them. Check that box and go ahead and click check out. And here you would need to put your email or mobile phone number. They do send you text messages, so if you have data charges, don't put your phone number, put your email. I'm going to put my email. Sorry about that, folks. millingfeed.com and fill out and go ahead and put your information in here, because if you rather have them shipped to your house or delivered to your house, you can do that. If not, go ahead and but put your information in, not the mill's information in, put your information in. Click continue to shipping. And here, this is where you can choose pick up or have it delivered to your house. We want it pick up here. So make sure that little box is picked. You will see that there's no shipping charges and your total is going to be $23.96. You will continue to payment. And this is where you will put your credit card information in and all your billing address and all that stuff. I'm not going to do that because I don't have that information with me right now. So if there's questions about that, call Polaris Poultry or go ahead and give me a call here at the mill. I'll try to help walk you through it. Can you go back to the slideshow? I'm going to go back to the slideshow real quick. Ooh, is there a way to go to the very end? And hang on one second. So this slideshow, like I said, we recorded this. It will be on our website. Here's the procedures on how to place your order for chicks, where to go, and all the steps that you need to go through. Make sure if you want that free bag of feed that you put in the special instructions for seller to pick up at Alaska Mill & Feed. That way, then you come down here to the mill and we will hand you that bag while you're here picking up your chicks. If not, based on the address that you enter for your personal address, if you live in Eagle River, you'll be picking up in Eagle River on Wednesdays between 12 and 12:30. If you're out in the valley, you'll be picking up either at the Panda Express, the Fred Meyer and Palmer, or the Green Store in Butte. Are there any questions? A lot of people don't put their eggs in the fridge. A lot of people just store them out on the cabinet in a wire basket. You don't have to keep them in the fridge. Most people, a lot of the refrigerating came about as because of the salmonella scare. But no, you do not have to refrigerate your eggs. And on February, I have some other dates for you guys. Like I said, on February 26th, Dr. Gerlach will be doing his poultry management basics, basically on biosecurity. And on February 12th at 3 p.m., I will be giving the advanced spring chickens class. And we'll go more into electric fencing, chicken math, figuring out how much feed you're going to need and how much it's going to cost you. Composting, egg handling and grading, and how to process a bird. So that is on February 12th. Indicates in that same spot that we did pick up at Alaska Mill & Feed that you want to have the additional vaccinations, Lisa. That's where you would tell Polaris Poultry you want the additional vaccinations. So in that special instructions to the seller. Are there any more questions? Now's the time to bring them up. I'll give you a couple minutes. If not, thank you for being here and being part of the class. Anytime y'all have questions, give us a call. I'm Christy. on the website, you can sign up for the advanced classes. You can go ahead and sign up for them. The time on the 12th is 3 p.m. for the advanced chickens, and on the 26th with Dr. Gerlach will be at 1 p.m. Let me scroll back up here. All right, looks like I got all those questions. If you do have questions after presentation, give a call. I'm here Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Or anyone over in the retail store can try to answer the questions. And thank you all so much for being here today.